Beer Midnight Express. The midnight train to nowhere was a relic of another era, its once grand interior now marred by grime and decay. It clattered through the night, each jolt and rumble echoing the whispers of forgotten passengers. The only light came from flickering overhead bulbs that cast eerie shadows across the worn velvet seats. Catherine Cole had boarded the train at the last minute, escaping the unrelenting storm that battered the station platform. She was tired, her face haggard from a long day's work, and she hoped the ride would offer some solace. Little did she know, the train was about to offer anything but peace. As the train departed, Catherine settled into a seat in a nearly empty car. The few passengers that were present seemed odd. None made eye contact, and their silence was almost oppressive. Catherine shrugged off her unease, attributing it to her exhaustion, and closed her eyes. She was jolted awake by a sudden lurch. The train had slowed down and was approaching a desolate, overgrown station that seemed to rise out of the fog like a phantom. The platform was deserted, and the station's once bustling architecture was now dilapidated and crumbling. The train screeched to a halt, and Catherine glanced out the window. The station was so decayed it looked like it hadn't seen life in decades. As she wondered why they had stopped, the lights flickered and dimmed, plunging the car into near darkness. The silence was absolute, broken only by the occasional distant clatter. A soft thud at the end of the car drew her attention. She peered down the dimly lit corridor, but there was nothing there, just the same dark, foreboding shadows. Deciding it was merely a trick of her tired mind, she leaned back, trying to return to sleep. Minutes passed. The lights flickered once more and went out completely. Catherine's heart raced as she fumbled for her phone to use as a flashlight. The soft glow revealed that the car was now filled with other passengers, although they had not been there before. Their faces were hidden in shadow, their heads bowed as if in silent prayer. A sudden clatter of metal against the floor made Catherine jump. She looked towards the source of the noise and saw an old, tattered book lying in the aisle. It was bound in cracked leather and had an intricate, faded design on the cover. A shiver ran down her spine as she realized that the book seemed oddly out of place amidst the otherwise ordinary surroundings of the train car. Despite her better judgment, Catherine picked up the book. The pages were yellowed and brittle, but the writing was legible. The book contained stories of strange occurrences, each more disturbing than the last. Catherine read on, unable to tear her eyes away. The stories spoke of trains that traveled through time, of passengers who vanished without a trace, and of creatures that lurked in the darkness between worlds. As she reached the last story, she felt a cold breath on her neck. Catherine spun around, but there was no one there. The car was empty once more. Her hands trembled as she turned the page, only to find it blank except for a single sentence written in a scrawling, unsettling script. "Welcome to your final destination." Panic surged through Catherine. She stood up, but the train jolted violently, as if it were being dragged off its tracks. The lights flickered back on, revealing that the passengers who had previously been seated were now gone. The eerie silence was broken only by the sound of her own rapid breathing. The train began to move again, but it was different. Its rhythm was irregular, jerky. The view outside the window was a swirling vortex of darkness, the familiar landscape replaced by an abyss of shadow. The fog had thickened, obscuring any sign of the world she had left behind. Catherine's mind raced as she tried to make sense of her situation. She recalled the book's stories of passengers who had disappeared. Were they taken by the same force that now surrounded her? Her fears grew with every passing second, and she felt a presence, a malevolent force that seemed to watch her from the darkness. The train's intercom crackled to life, the voice distorted and echoing. "Final destination approaching. Please prepare for departure." Catherine's heart pounded as she moved to the front of the car. The door to the conductor's cabin was ajar, revealing a dimly lit interior. She hesitated, then pushed through. Inside, the cabin was empty, but the controls were alive with blinking lights and ominous sounds. She noticed a faded photograph pinned to the wall, a group of people, their faces ghostly pale, staring out with empty eyes. A sudden realization hit her. The passengers had been taken, absorbed into the very fabric of the train. She had to get out before it was too late. Catherine tried to open the door leading to the next car, but it was stuck. She pushed harder, but the door remained stubbornly closed. The intercom crackled again,